Movie buffs, welcome back to the Movie Bay. This is D. In today's video, we're going to take a look at 20 successful movie remakes or reboots, whichever one you want to call it. Some are reboots and some are remakes. I'll explain to you which ones is which as we go through. We just did 10 failed reboots, remakes. I got 20 that I think is successful, that I consider successful. These are movies that nobody talked really bad about, and when they compared it to the original, nobody really said these were trash compared to the original. Now, some of these may not be better than the original, but they're still good and they still hold their weight. So let's dive in and take a look at them, shall we? We're going to start this party off with The Hills Have Eyes. The Hills Have Eyes. This was a pretty good remake. Now, part 2 to this wasn't as good as this one, and part 2 wasn't as good as the original. But this, to me, this stood 10 toes down with the original. I'm not going to say this was light years better. Of course, it's a newer movie. The first movie, I do believe, came out in 77, I do believe. This is a much newer movie, and it looks good. It looks better, and it was a really good movie. Very gross. It's a lot grosser than the original. Because of the time difference. But yeah, The Hills Have Eyes remake is a pretty good movie. And the second one to this, The Hills Have Eyes 2, it was okay. It just wasn't better than this one. I try not to do for these, I won't do any superhero stuff, because for the most part, every time a new version of a different superhero movie come out, it's generally better than the one that came out before it. Generally. But I will throw this one in because it's not really superhero, but it's along those lines. And that is Bumblebee. Bumblebee actually is a reboot to Transformers, and it did a pretty good job. This movie was pretty good. And the movie that came after this one, Rise of the Beast, that was good too. And it looked like it's going to be some more. I'm not sure when, but it looked like it jump-started a whole new franchise. So because it jump-started another franchise and it did get greenlit for a second movie, Rise of the Beast, I'm going to go ahead and say this was a successful movie. Next up is one that I really enjoy. I'm not going to say, well, for me, I'm going to say I enjoy this one better than the original. I love the original with Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway, but Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo gave up the goods in the Thomas Crown Affair. I love Pierce Brosnan. I love Rene Russo. The chemistry these two had on screen was incredible. Banging ass performances by both of them. Great story. It was Thomas Crown Affair. It was a good movie. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Now, this is one where I actually watched both of them back to back. I watched the original and I watched this one. And I watched them back to back and I went. Now, I will admit, I watched this newer one before I watched the original. But in my collection, I think I added the original maybe a year or two ago. And I watched it and I watched them both back to back. And I got to admit, it was a tough call. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm going to go ahead and say Robert De Niro, Nick Nolte, and Jessica Lange, their version of Cape Fear is a little bit better than Robert Meacham's version. Just a little bit. I mean, De Niro gave up the goods. That's all I'm going to say. Nick Nolte gave up. It was a good movie. The original was all that too, though. I'm not taking nothing from the original, but far as I'm concerned, this version of Cape Fear is better than the original. That's my opinion. Your opinion might be different. Again, that's just my opinion. But the critics all agreed this was a good movie, and the fans loved it. So, again, not to take from the original Cape Fear. They was made so many years apart. They're going to be different. But De Niro, I think if they would have picked a different guy instead of De Niro, it might not have turned out the way it did. He did a hell of a job in that one. Next up, we got David Cronenberg's The Fly. Oh, yes. Jeff Goldblum. Oh, yes. Brundlefly. Oh, yes. Not only that, it spawned a second movie. Now, the second movie, in my opinion, wasn't all that great, but it got green. It was so successful, they greenlit a second one. So, to me, it was a successful movie. Even if it didn't get a second one, this was still a banging ass movie. And yes, I liked it. Now, again, it's a bit, with a lot of these remakes and reboots and stuff, it's a lot of time difference between the original. So I'm not going to compare them directly because it's just different. So that's why I'm not really bringing up box office, because some of these movies got a 20 and 30 year difference. The money is different. The inflation is different. Everything is just different. So I'm not even talking about money made. It's because it's now, unless you want to do the adjustment for, you can adjust for inflation to see if they're close, but I don't think so. Let's see here. You just got way more movie theaters and just way more options to view movies nowadays than you did, let's say, 20, 30 years ago. Some of these movies even 40 years ago. So that's that. Here's one that I think was a successful remake. Now, is it better than the original? In my opinion, I'm not going to say it's better, but to me, it's just as entertaining. But I don't think it's better. But again, it was a well-received movie, and that's Nicolas Cage's Gone in 60 Seconds. This was well-received. Now, with this one, I also heard a lot of rumbling where the original was better. So this is one where you can't really say it's better than the original, cut and dry, close the book, because there's some people who will argue that today. And I'll even argue that because I love the original. So, but I'm going to say this was a well-received remake to a classic. Here's one that I really, really enjoyed. And I think the critics liked it. I think the fans received it well. And that's Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, Frozen Empire, I got that coming. I didn't see that yet. I'm going to watch that as soon as I get it. Now, I heard it wasn't really all that good. Not like this one. This one was really good. This was well received by everybody. I love this movie. And I was dying to see more. I'm going to see Frozen Empire and I'll make my own mind up on that one. But I heard it wasn't as good as this. But this was a banger right here. And it did greenlight a second movie. So to me, it was successful. Now, here's one. Now, for me, this is not better than the original. For me. But this, again, this is another one that was pretty well received. But now, just because it was well received don't mean that the people that received it saw it as better than the original. Because a lot of people that you'll talk to even today will say the original is better. But I'm going to go ahead and give it a success because Clash of the Titans actually got greenlit for a second movie, Wrath of the Titans, which was in line with this one. They not bad movies at all. Now, for me, the original Clash of the Titans is special to me. It's a movie that I grew up with. Family would come over for holidays. It would always come on around. Told this story a million times. It was a great holiday movie for us in my house. Family would come by for dinner or whatever. We would watch that movie. It came on every year around the holidays. The original Clash of the Titans. That's a special movie for me. But I will say I found a lot of enjoyment in this one and Wrath of the Titans. Because it got greenlit for a second movie and it was some enjoyment here, I'm going to give it a successful rating. Oh, this one right here. Talk about a banging ass restart to a franchise. I mean, they couldn't have done a better movie to restart the James Bond franchise than Casino Royale. Still, to this day, out of all the Daniel Craig movies, this is still held up as the best one. Some people might go back and forth between this and Skyfall. Don't get me wrong. For me, Skyfall is definitely number 2. But to me, this one right here, Casino Royale, this is in top 3 Bond movies to me of all the Bond movies. This is top 3. This is an absolute banger. And a lot of people didn't have faith in Daniel Craig, but he came through like he came through. He delivered all the goods. In all the movies. He did a great job in all the Bond movies. Yep. Daniel Craig did a great job. He was slept on, but he came through. Here's one that I think is really good, better than the original. I love the original, but this is an example of a movie that just simply overpowers the original in every way. Now, again, to be fair, this movie is like 30-something years newer with way better effects and technology, but it's still just a better movie. Dune. This is a banger. And the second one, both of them together, because you need them both to complete the story. Excuse me. Dune, this movie is a banger. And not only is it a banger, it's drop dead gorgeous to watch if you got the right setup. The sound, the visuals, it's a gorgeous movie. Well shot, well acted. Everything about this movie is straight on 10. And here's another one. Whoa, talk about a successful remake. God damn. Excuse my language. Dawn of the Dead. Man, this right here. This right here. I'm trying to watch my language, but man, this one right here, certified banger. I ain't gonna hold you. This is one where I'm going to say it was well received, at least by me and the people that run in my circles. We received this movie well. Me, I don't have the original, but I seen the original. I'm torn on this one because I love the original, but I like this one. And I'm going to go ahead and say The Italian Job was a well-received remake. Is it better than the original? I'm going to say yeah for me. Even though I love the original, I like this one. I really do. The Day the Earth Stood Still, definitely this one is to me, this is better. It's just, again, it's just, the story is a little bit different. Keanu Reeves did a good job. Everybody did a good job in this movie. I like the effects. It's a well-shot movie. It looks good even today. It looks really good when you watch it. On this Blu-ray, it looks really, really good. I'm not sure if there's a 4K for this one, but I am very content with this Blu-ray. Yeah, Day the Earth Stood Still. And I have both of them. The original is in here. I watched the original. I liked it. Don't get me wrong, it was good, but this is better. Here's a remake that just came right out of nowhere, and it was well received, and I liked it. And I like the original, but I like this one just a little bit better. And this is another one that was well received at the time. The Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. You got John Travolta and Denzel Washington. Of course it's going to be well received. Good movie, though. Some of these are just really good. We always talk about how bad remakes and reboots are, but we never really talk about the good ones. And here's an example. All of these are examples of good ones. Some better than others, but still good. Now, some of these are better than the originals and some aren't. But a good remake or a good reboot don't have to be better than the original. It just needs to be well received by the audience who's watching it. 12 Angry Men. Now, this right here, this was a made-for-TV movie. And this movie was incredible. Did I like the original? Absolutely. Do I like this one better? Absolutely. Here's another one. We're on a roll here. Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Talk about a remake and a reboot to a franchise. Man, this gave us 3, count it, 1, 2, 3 bangers. All 3 of these was excellent. All 3 of these movies was absolutely banging. Matt Reeves put his foot all up in this. Straight up. Here's one. Now, I loved Trek 89. Trek 09. I loved Trek 09, and I loved Into Darkness. I know a lot of people didn't like Into Darkness. I loved it. Star Trek Beyond was just aight. To me, it was just aight. It was doing a little bit too much, but it was aight. I ain't going to say it was bad, but it was aight. But Star Trek 09 and Into Darkness, Star Trek 09 was a great reboot to Star Trek. I liked it. Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Carl Urban, Zoe Saldana, Anton Yelchin, I think his name is. R.I.P. to him. But it was just Bruce Greenwood, just a banging ass movie, Star Trek 09. It was well received, and it was a really good movie. J.J. Abrams did a great job with that. In the Darkness, I thought was good. I liked it. It gave a little bit of backstory to Khan. I enjoyed it. And Beyond. But again, Star Trek 09 is definitely a successful reboot because it rebooted the series. Now again, it's an alternate timeline from the Kirk in the Picard timeline, but still, it was a reboot. Fantastic. I liked all 3 of them for the most part. Jeff Bridges, Matt Damon, and Josh Brolin in True Grit. I dug it. I thought it was a good movie. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say this was a good remake. Here's one that was. This one was like, sorry guys, it's really hot here in Philly today. I got a fan on, but it ain't really doing much down here. But Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke, and a host of others. The Magnificent Seven. This was a good remake. This was good. This was excellent. I enjoyed it, and I think a lot of people who saw this movie really enjoyed it. Here's one that's a little controversial. This is probably, I'm going to save this one for last. We only got 2 left. Y'all saw it, so I might as well just flat. Y'all might not. Whatever. It. And you got to put them both together to complete the story. What they did with it this time was they broke it in half. You got the adults and the kids each got their own movie. And some people think the kids one was better. The kids one was better. It was reversed, I think, in the original. I think the second half of the movie with the adults was better than the kids. Either way, I thought it was good. Was it better than the original? I'm going to say for me, I like the original with Tim Curry as it. Skarsgård did a great job. Again, it's just different. It's, again, better effects and all of that. But these were good. Don't get me wrong. These was good. They were definitely successful. They made bank. But I think the original was better. But again, these were well received. Now, there was some hate for these. But for the most part, these was well received. And they didn't get more hate than they got love. You understand what I'm saying? For the most part, It Chapter 1 and 2 were well received remakes to an original. And the fact that they was broken into 2 movies, that I guess that helped with box office draw. Probably the ultimate remake. Not the ultimate remake, I'm not going to say that, but a damn good remake. And that is Scarface. Al Pacino Scarface. This was a hell of a remake right here. This is it right here. This is the blueprint for a remake. Now, that's 20 successful remakes or reboots. Again, just like with the failed ones, some were better than the originals, but they failed to catch on. Just because a remake failed to catch on, don't mean it was bad. And just because a reboot failed to reboot the franchise, don't really mean it was bad either. We already know, like, some of the stuff that, like, really just stinks. And in that last list, out of the 10, I think 2 of them was, like, on that stink scale. And here, I think for the most part, all of these was really good. For the most part. And I would say most of these was better than the originals. Most of them. Some wasn't, but for the most part, I think I'm comfortable saying most of these was better than the original source material that they came from. Well, guys, that's 20 successful remakes, reboots, coming off of 10 failed. Just thinking of some ideas and some stuff. The next video I got coming up, you'll see when I put it out. Thanks, guys.